Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel all about real estate. My name is Lewis, and we have a great video here for you today. We're going to be sharing an article from MarketWatch that has a survey from Gallup that asks the question, is now a good time to buy a home? And guess what? According to this survey, it says that 50% of Americans don't think so. So let's jump into the details of this article and talk about it a little bit. Now, if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that like button and that subscribe button right there. And please leave a comment. The comments really help me learn and grow, and they help others learn and grow. And without further ado, let's jump right to this article. All right, so I have the article up on the screen from MarketWatch. I will link to it in the show notes, but as I said, is now a good time to buy a home? Most Americans don't think so, and Gallup says it's the first time more than 50% of people feel that way. So let's jump into this article and see what they have to say. So I've gone through it, I've highlighted some of the key points. It says that the new poll from Gallup found that only 30% of Americans believe now is a good time to buy a house. So they surveyed both people who think it's a good time and people who don't think it's a good time. Now it says it's the lowest level on record since Gallup began surveying Americans on this question, which began in 1978. So they've been doing this a long time. And it's the first time that less than 50% of people across the country thought it was a good time to buy. So they didn't really give any insight on prior years and the data from prior years, but I'd be curious to see how big of a margin or a jump that was year over year. The article goes on to say that, in other words, even at the height of the foreclosure crisis and amid the Great Recession, at least 50% of Americans thought the time was right to purchase a home. But today, with home prices and mortgage rates rising, people are growing concerned about taking the plunge. So they are perceiving more risk. I think people understand that the market is a little expensive right now, and mortgage interest rates going up has probably made that more apparent at this point. It says that Americans' much more negative assessments of the current housing market may also keep them from looking to buy, which could lead to a slowdown in home sales. If that happens, it would reduce the demand for houses and could lead to a decline in home values. So as more and more buyers take a back seat in this market, it would likely decrease the demand a little bit. Maybe it puts some downward pressure on prices. But in some of the other videos that I have recently done, it talks about the seller sentiment changing as well. Less and less sellers being willing to list their properties because of the higher rates. So if they sell in this market, they would need to purchase in this market. Most of them don't want to take the higher interest rates. Now, the article continues. It says Gallup survey found that attitudes toward buying a home grew more pessimistic in every region across the country and across all subgroups, including among both renters and homeowners. This is the largest drop-off occurred among suburban residents. Last year, 60% of these residents said it was a good time to buy versus 27% in the survey Gallup conducted back in April. Now it says young adults were most likely to have a negative outlook on buying a home. Only 25% of people between the ages of 18 and 34 believe the timing is right to become a homeowner. So this is really interesting. This is like the millennial age group, and part of the reason why there's probably a negative outlook is because it is so expensive across the board. It's not just housing. I mean, it's food, it's fuel, it's energy. It's just the cost of goods and services across the board. It becomes very difficult to save up money and set aside anything for a down payment and closing costs. And then when you combine that with higher mortgage payments, it becomes very discouraging. Even though this can be incredibly frustrating, these are items that we unfortunately cannot control. And so dwelling on it doesn't necessarily make it go away. So for many folks, not only this age group, but what I'm starting to see is people start to redirect their attention towards income producing activities, things where they can increase their skills, add more value to the marketplace, and increase the income level that they earn either at their job or on a side hustle. And as income goes up, then affordability becomes less of a problem. And I think if we take it a step further, we might even see more folks that are interested in doing things like house hacking or shared housing, where they rent by the room, or they're just going to get more creative with their living situations so that they can fight some of these affordability issues and fight inflation. Now, to wrap up the article, I thought this was interesting. It says that underpinning Americans' growing pessimism towards the housing market is the expectation that home prices will continue to rise. Gallup reported that 70% of respondents said that they expect the average price of homes in their area to increase over the next year versus 18% who expect them to stay the same and only 12% who said they will drop. So very few people think that home prices will actually come down according to this survey. So that wraps up the article there, but I thought it was really fascinating and worth sharing with everybody here today because the sentiment here in the market is starting to shift a little bit and something that we need to be aware of. Now, this week I did quite a few videos on the housing market and how it is shifting, and it's not meant to be negative. In fact, I have an optimistic outlook here into the future, but paying attention to the trends I think is incredibly important, and we need to prepare. We need to prepare for what's in front of us. If we go into a recession and things tighten up, it's possible we might see values of properties come down. We might even see mortgage rates get up into the 6%, 7% range. So as an investor, as a potential home buyer myself, I am looking at this and just trying to be as objective as possible, and I'm kind of waiting patiently to see what unfolds in the market. Now, that's what I'm personally doing. I'm not a financial advisor, just a guy sharing my opinion here on YouTube. But anyway, it's going to be really interesting to see what unfolds here in the coming months. We're going to continue to pay attention to it. We're going to continue to deliver content. I hope you find value in it. That's all I have for you today. Please consider liking and subscribing. See you on the next video.